I was thinking Dad used to sometimes, when I would ask him, when he was with Campus Crusade and he was going to go speak someplace, what are you going to be talking about, Dad? And his answer was always, Jesus. Just going to talk about Jesus. So I was thinking this morning, well, he'd want Jesus to be first in his love list, and he would want Mom to be second, and that was true. Mm-hmm. But then, was it going to be sharing the gospel or hunting? Just not sure. But Dean, you've got it right. It was a combo.
Something, too, that I was thinking about, and Debbie and I have talked about this a lot, is how Dad was so teachable. And even though, he never thought he had it all figured out. And as we moved and grew and, kind of came up with some different ideas about the gospel and what that meant, Dad just was able to move and grow, and it just...
As he got older, he seemed to really grow in grace.
Yeah.
The legalism stopped a long time ago, most of it.
When I think about that, I think about how when we were being raised in our original churches, and I think Dad was taught this way, that you just had to emphasize the law because that's how they saw the Bible. And as Dad, I remember when they started working with Campus Crusade for Christ, I was in 3rd grade on a swing at Light and Life with Shigay Ortman. And I told Shigay, I really don't know what this Campus Crusade is, but I know that my dad's a lot nicer. So that says something. And then as we got a little older and began to understand different aspects of grace, I was a little bit concerned about what Dad would think about where I was going with it. And I remember just wanting him to walk with us and read with us and understand with us, and he did. He was so open and teachable. That was...
And he wasn't afraid to say, I don't know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like at one time it seemed like he had all the answers, and then as he got older and grew more in grace, he was willing more often to say, I don't know.
Yeah.
And you'd hardly ever hear people in any ministry say they don't know.
Yeah. It's really amazing.
The one story, and there's a lot of them, but the one story that I think Mom would really like for me to tell, or Dean one, would be the time that Dad was invited to go on a deer hunt, and was with a few men, and other than to go on this hunt with the guys, he decided to stay home and take Dean and me, and we were maybe 8 or 9, somewhere in there. I don't really remember. We were little, and we hunted some pretty rough country north of town, north of Cave Creek, and we got up quite a ways up on top of one of those mountains and found some deer, and Dad shot one of the deer, and we had to haul that off the mountain and got it down to the car. We were driving a car, not a truck. And I think it was a Sears Allstate. We got down to where we loaded the deer into the car. Then Dad wanted to know what time it was. But when he cleaned the deer, he handed his watch to me. And so I set it down on a rock and forgot all about it. And Dad ended up having to walk all the way back up on top of the mountain to get his watch. So that was a nice memory, and it was one that Mom continued to remember for a lot of years. Just the way that he gave up going with the guys and took Dean and me out to hunt deer that time.
I think you were always his favorite hunting companions, unless it was his brothers.
We were his excuse.
Oh.
You gotta take them boys hunting.
Don't want to do it.
It's kind of like having bird dogs. If you don't take them hunting, they're not any good.
Oh.
Danita, what's one of your early memories of Dad?
Well, I had, by the time I came along, everything was pretty different. You guys were pretty much gone. But Dad was still very playful with me, and I have a lot of memories that are just kind of funny. Like, Dean, you got me that rabbit. I don't know, maybe over the years you got me a couple different rabbits. But we used to go to the grocery store and go to the back where they throw away the food and dig through the dumpsters to get food for a rabbit.
That was a good excuse for us to have something to eat.
But then we'd this is perfectly good. Why'd they throw this out?
We can use that.
And so we bring home some food for the rabbit and some food for us. By the time I came along, Grandma and Grandpa McMillan lived in Hemet. And so it was a pretty, it was a retirement community that wasn't very fun for a little girl to go visit. But Dad would take me to the golf course to chase rabbits. And him and I, we never caught one, but we always thought we were going to catch one. Mm-hmm. And we'd try to find a baby, like as small as this one's really little, maybe we can catch this one. And we'd run those rabbits around and try to corner them, like where there would be a bush or a fence or something. And, I didn't think much of it, but I thought, I wonder what those golfers thought with that man and that little girl running around chasing rabbits.
On the golf course.
I'd forgotten all about that, going into the dumpster to get food. But we really did that. It wasn't to get stuff for the rabbits.
Yeah.
It was to get food for. I remember eating a lot of food that we got out of the dumpster.
In back of the grocery store?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a lot of course it was right by my school. And I think that having Dad for a dad made me grow up just not caring what anybody thought. Because, he just never cared about what people thought about stuff like that. It's not like we tried to hide it or anything. And I just ended up with that. Like, I don't really care.
It was good food, that's for sure. A lot of it goes to waste now. Debbie, what's one of your early memories or really good memories of what you remember about Dad?
I remember significantly how proud I was of Dad when Grandpa Priest died. And Dad was right there for Grandpa and was significant to help Grandpa die that night. Mm-hmm. And I liked how Dad accompanied Grandpa's body back to Oklahoma. I thought that was brave of him to do. And I always appreciated how Dad honored his dad and his mom. They always held them in such high esteem. And of course he did the same with his brothers and sister. And I think that was a good thing for us to see and be aware of.
How about early childhood?
Early childhood? Maybe you're stretching. I'm getting too old for early childhood. I remember sitting around, but this would have been like in 13th Avenue, and him reading out of Outdoor Life and Field and Stream. I think it was more for you guys, but I would sit and listen to it. I thought it was nice that Dad would read. But when I was in high school, this was good. He, for at least 2 years in a row, would come each spring and get me out of Phoenix Christian, get me out of class, and take me to a spring training baseball game.
I don't remember.
He liked the Giants and I liked the Dodgers, so we would see one of them play. And I thought that was special that he would do that for me. And that wasn't my idea, it was his. I appreciated that. But I think I was in high school, maybe I wasn't, but when we lived on Hazelwood and my room faced the front of the house, I was getting ready to go to bed one night, and outside the house I could see our white Chevrolet Impala that was sitting on the street. The interior light was blinking on and off. So I thought that was weird. Something was going on. So I went and told Mom and Dad that someone was in the car. Dean, were you home you were home that night?
I was, yeah.
Okay, well, I went and told Mom and Dad was protective and went out front, and he was going to take care of this problem with these people that were messing around with this car. And we were all standing, remember that front door had windows, so we could see out the window. We're standing at the front door wondering what's going to happen and kind of worried about Dad. And before you know it, Dad takes the two men that were in our car and starts walking them into the house. And I remember Mom being kind of concerned. What, Elvis? What are you doing? And he brought these two young men in, and they had just come over from Mexico, and they didn't know the language. They were hungry. They were cold. And Dad invited them in and set them down at the table and got Mom to cook them some food, and called one of his friends who was a pastor to Spanish-speaking people and found out what they were doing and what their needs were. That always registered in my heart that was an important way to treat people who we would see as foreigners.
Or criminals.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah,
Because
what
they
I
have a story.
remember is the police coming, because the neighbors had called the police. And the police came and couldn't believe that he had them in the house feeding them. And said, you shouldn't have had them in the house like you do. And he said, well, they were hungry. And
That's what mattered.
yeah, and I remember when he would go try to collect rent at the apartments he owned. And he didn't own them for a real long time because I think it wasn't profitable, because sometimes when he would go collect rent, if somebody didn't have money for rent, they'd say they didn't have enough money to buy food. So he would go buy them a bag of groceries.
Mm.
And I think pretty soon word got out in the apartment complex that the landlord was pretty tender-hearted and would buy you food if you couldn't pay your rent. And it wasn't too long after that he sold the apartment.
Yeah.
And I think
I remember that, delivering groceries to people.
because they couldn't pay their rent.
I don't think I put it all together, but I remember delivering groceries to people.
Yeah, and that really made an impression on me looking back on it. And you just don't ever hear of anybody doing anything like that anymore.
You know, Dean, that's the reason why, I never thought about it in that way, but that's the reason why when we would hunt on the border, and some of the border crossers would come across, Dean would always make sure to feed them. They'd come into camp at night, and Dean had to make sure that they had plenty of food before they food and water before they left. So I guess that was quite an impression that Dad left on Dean with border crossers.
Yeah.
Well, it's just love.
Well, we're going to miss him. We had a lot of fun hunting together and doing things. And it's going to be, the last few years was tough. And we tried to take him out as much as we could take him, even in a wheelchair.
Mm-hmm.
And he
loved
always
it,
wanted
didn't
to
he?
go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, what's really good to know is it won't be long, and he won't be in a. When we see him next, he's not going to be in a wheelchair. He's not going to be in a bed.
Yeah.
And
He's not going to have to shoot out the window.
I always appreciate too how Dad, of course, loved his own siblings and treated them so well. And then I thought it was so remarkable how Dad was so honored and treasured, not just by us as his children, but by nieces and nephews that are far removed. And Dad and Mom, this is important, I think, too. When we were putting together their 50th anniversary celebration, we were asking people that were invited to just contribute stories or memories about Mom and Dad. And they were coming to my house, and as they were coming and started coming in droves, what was really fun was this very common theme that Mom and Dad were always there. And if there was a family wedding, if there was a family disaster, if there was whatever was going on, Mom and Dad would show up and they would be there. And it teaches me a lot about presence. That if we're going to be involved in people's lives, the most important thing is to be present.
Yeah, and I remember when we were growing up that, you know how a lot of people will bring home stray dogs or cats or whatever. He would bring home stray people and people that were hurting or needed food or whatever. And I remember occasionally they would stay with us for several days.
Yeah.
We had no idea who they were.
Mom and Dad were a good team that way because Mom was always so willing to care for and cook for and never looking for honor for it, but they were a good team. It's going to be missed.
They don't make them like that anymore.
I think I'm looking at a couple.
Well,
I think you've got a couple too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe the legacy will go on.
Maybe.
Yeah. One of the things that Danita and I have often thought as, you know, our spiritual journey goes, and we're always kind of taking some new trails, and we've really missed having Dad.
Oh, yeah.
It would have been so much fun to be able to bounce some ideas off Dad and have Dad.
Because he was our spiritual journeyman.
Yes, he was. And when we were beginning to change our views on law and grace, we would walk up North Mountain and Dad was right there with us, and we came up with a lot of theology on that mountain.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really amazing.
So we've missed that. Maybe, of course, when we are with him next, they'll have all kinds of new things to teach us.
He was always the in-between. He never took a side.
The peacemaker.
He was always a peacemaker. And even with us, when nobody was listening, he wouldn't take a side. He defended both. He kept both. He saw both sides of a story. He, you know, I feel like that taught me, and I think it taught all of us, just that nobody's perfect. Everybody's got their little things, and that is not what you focus on. You know, and when it's family, it's thick, and it doesn't matter. And no matter what.
He certainly elevated family and taught us that from the very beginning, even when it was uncomfortable to pile a bunch of little kids into a car and go across country to Oklahoma, because it was important to be with family.
Yeah.
And he instilled that the way he instilled the love of hunting.
Yeah. And we used to do, when it was just the three of us, we would do road trips. And that's some of my most fun memories, are doing road trips with Mom and Dad. And one time when we were going back to Colorado,
Thinking the same thing, yeah.
not fun memories, not so fun with you.
I just remember the time the car caught on fire
I remember that too. That was
in the desert.
Jeez, you guys have lots of road trip memories of
I
cars.
don't think you were around it.
No. You were real little.
That was a Rambler.
The car caught on
that
fire,
was a
and
White Rambler.
we pulled into some little
It was Ramsey.
Ramsey
Yeah.
gas station there at Ramsey, and the back end of the car was on fire. And I can remember, it happened right there, not too far from the gas station. I can remember I looked out the window off to the right side, and I said, "Oh, look, the car's on fire." and like Dad would do, is it? Seems to be running okay. You sure it's on fire? Yeah, it's on fire.
Okay, well, my road trip story was going to Colorado to staff training, and we stopped at every bank along the way, and we bought all of their 50-cent pieces, $50.
That were pure silver.
No, we just would buy rolls and rolls of $50. And Dad taught us how to look at them, like just to pull them out and look at them on the side and tell if they were silver or if they had copper in them. And we picked out all the silver ones to keep. And then when we'd stop at the next bank, we'd turn those in for more. And I still have all those silver pieces, like just tons of those, and that are silver, those before 1964. Cases about this big. I bet I've got like 10 of them.
Mom said she felt like Bonnie and Clyde.
Yeah, Mom said we were like Bonnie and Clyde going through gathering up silver.
At all the banks.
But it made it so fun.
Yeah.
Like we had a mission we were on while we were going, and we were making money at it.
I remember driving from here to Oklahoma quite a few times where gas would be like 17 cents a gallon.
Yeah.
We'd drive all the way through town trying to find a place that was 15 cents a gallon.
Then we'd run out of gas.
And we'd want to stop for hamburgers or whatever. And he would go, oh, why don't we just stop and get a round of bologna and a loaf of bread and we'll just keep driving.
Oh man, I'm like that too. I must have got it from him. If I'm driving, I like to just go.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? There's talk about guardian angels,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and ours were. Dad had a whole bunch
Ours
of
were
them.
what?
They were working overtime.
Dad wore a lot of guardian angels out.
Yeah.
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 Not only with shotguns and rifles, but cars and everything else.
He had favor.
A long, good life.
Yeah, he had a good run.
He
They're
did.
going to miss it.
Good life, and I thought he had a good death.
He been very peaceful. And he was ready.